Once again, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Our topic tonight, dual citizenship, Preposition 1, and the ruling of the Supreme Court on the Alien and Nationality law. To discuss this, I have our guest co-host, Mrs. Patient Casey City. Patient, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you. Glad
Also,
to be here.
great. Thank you, Patient. And the last time, 2 years ago, you were on Focus on Liberia, and we are glad to have you back.
It's been that long, huh?
Yeah, it's been that long. Also, I have my the host of the Hour of Politics on Focus on Liberia, Mr. Anthony Sear, who is here to give us the political analysis of it all. Mr. Sear, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Mr. Ja. And as always, I'm happy to be here to talk about the issues.
Thank you. Now, our guest, Mr. Councillor Avin Tish Jallo, who is joining us from Monrovia. Councillor, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Brother Ja, and Happy New Year to you and the rest of the panelists, the co-host.
Thank you, and happy New Year. And you probably didn't remember, I met you in Monrovia the last time I was there in 2017.
Yeah, well, you know, I've been, that's not a meeting that you can forget. Of course, I remember.
And I hope you still had the book that I sold to you.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Good,
it was
good,
good reading.
Great. Well, we are glad to have you. Councillor Tish was the one who went to the Supreme Court, and we're going to get all into that. But before we start, I want to once again welcome all our viewers. We're going to post our number very shortly so that you'll call in, because for someone to go at the Supreme Court and win is a big deal. And we have all these things: dual citizenship, Preposition 1, and then the aliens and nationality law. We're going to be entering into that shortly. But let me pass it on to my guest co-host, Patient, the lawyer, who's going to say a little bit about herself so that just you know why we have her here.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. As Mr. Dennis already stated, I am a practicing attorney in Atlanta, Georgia. I've been practicing since 2014, and I attended Florida State University for undergrad and attended Loyola University in New Orleans for my JD. I recently started my own law firm, and we are focusing on immigration and real estate law. I am also a licensed real estate attorney in Georgia. So anything immigration or real estate related, that is my forte. The name of my law firm is the Casey Legal Group, and you can check us out on my website at www.klegalgroup.com.
Thank you, Patient. A few words from my man, Asuni Sear, before we even go into it. Asuni?
Thank you, Dennis. Folks in cyberspace, we want to welcome you to this very important broadcast. As you know, I am the host of the Hour of Politics on this network, Focus on Liberia. I'm glad to be here. We have in the house Mr. Jallo. Jallo is a counselor. Avin Jallo is the gentleman who sued the Liberian government and won the case. And we know that his citizenship could not be denied, and that was his quarrel with the government, and he won that case. This is why we brought him in, and he's here to explain all that for all of us to understand, you know, how he did it and what it all means for all of us, especially those of us who may have another nationality. So this is a very important topic, and we will now ask you to hit the share button so that you cannot be the only one to benefit from what Mr. Jallo is going to share with us. Dennis?
We all set. And Patient, just to remind you, the last time you were here, that's how you look like.
Wow. I look so small.
That was the last time. That's the last time you were here, and we were discussing our
Oh,
young professionals.
Throwback. Real throwback.
So that was the attorney patient Casey barely 2 years ago, no, like 3 years ago, almost. Now we go to Councillor Aventis Jallo. Councillor Jallo, we saw you on the video talking about the case, but before we go into all that, just tell our viewers a little bit about Councillor Tish Jallo. I know you were here, now you are in Liberia. Tell us about a little bit about yourself.
Sure, and thanks for having me go after Brother Sia, because Patient has an impressive resume over there. So I wouldn't have wanted to have gone immediately after her. But as you rightfully said, look, I was in the state. I'm now home in Liberia. I'm licensed to practice in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and DC. I practiced there for about 9 years before returning home. I'm also licensed to practice here in Liberia. I have done some civil work and also criminal. So that's the brief background about me.
All right. Thank you. And let's start like this. A video came up where you were talking about your case at the Supreme Court. And I think if I have that video, I'm going to play later on. So let's start by saying, we saw your video talking about a case that was at the Supreme Court, and the case was decided, and you were giving us a gist of it. So let's start by telling us what this, a little history about the case and what it was all about. And after that, I got Patient here to grill you.
Sure. And it all started back in around 2006. If you recall, there was at that time a presidential nominee for the position to serve as Minister of Public Works in Liberia here, Lucini Donso. And there was, during his confirmation hearing, the issue about his American citizenship came to light. And it caused a lot of heated debate. And ultimately, I think he was told to go and naturalize as a Liberian before he could be confirmed. I was in the state at that time. So I had a discussion about that case with Brother Vasiki Kone, and Sam Zina. I said, you know what, this thing about people losing citizenship pursuant to this alien and nationality law is causing a lot of problems. So we may have to do something about it. So we organized ourselves and we started reaching out. And then we ultimately informed EULA about what was taking place. But then subsequently, you also heard about similar issues being done to Mr. Sam Ross. He also went for confirmation hearing, and the issue about him being an American citizen came to light. So in June 2010, we filed a petition with the Supreme Court of Liberia challenging the constitutionality of Section 22.1 and 22.2 of the Aliens and Nationality Law, which was enacted in 1973. And essentially that Section 21 says that if you are a Liberian and you obtain naturalization in another country, if you serve in the foreign army of another country, if you vote in a foreign election, you automatically lose your Liberian citizenship. So we challenged it on several grounds, but I will name three. We talk about the citizenship provision under Article 27 of the Constitution, because my citizenship is covered under Article 27 because I acquired my citizenship before the new Constitution came into force. We also said that it was a violation of the Equal Protection Clause. and that it violated the due process clause of the Liberian Constitution. We said because it violated the due process clause, it was automatically repealed on January 6, 1986, when the present constitution we have now came into force. The Supreme Court agreed. First, the court agreed that I had standing. Standing is pretty much saying that the party that is before the court has a personal interest in the outcome of the case. So after the court passed the issue of standing, saying I had standing to challenge the law, the court agreed that 22.2, which talks about someone losing his or her citizenship without due process, was repealed by implication. So here's where we are. So no citizen of this republic can automatically lose his or her citizenship as it stands.
Thank you very much. And Patient, you have anything?
Anything to add right now?
Yeah, you have any question for Councillor Jallow?
Yes. Well, let me go to my list. So you discussed the background of everything. So what does the Liberian law say about dual citizenship?
About dual, it to the extent that section 22.1 of the Alien and Nationality law, which says that if you acquire a foreign citizenship, you can lose the Liberian citizenship. To the extent that could be interpreted as a prohibition against dual citizenship, then I mean one could say that. But let's draw back now. The law says that about 4 categories of Liberians lose their citizenship, but for some reason the focus have been exclusively on those who acquire foreign citizenship. The focus in this case has not been with those who have served in foreign militaries. You have some people who have served in foreign military who are currently officials of government, but no one for some reason seems to go after them. But it's just that group that have acquired foreign citizenship that provision of the law was being used against. The only other thing that one could say mentions dual citizenship is Article 28 of the Constitution. But Article 28 says that if a Liberian, anyone who is born to one Liberian parent is a citizen of Liberia, provided that if the person acquires a foreign citizenship by virtue of his or her non-Liberian parent being a citizen of the country whose citizenship he or she require, they shall make that renunciation at the age of 18. It says nothing about a Liberian that is born unto 2 Liberian parents. It also says nothing about a Liberian who acquires a foreign citizenship by virtue of birth. As you are aware, children who are born in the US automatically acquire American citizenship, irrespective of the nationality of the parents. And interestingly, when the current constitution we have the draft to it had language in Article 28 that would have applied to Liberians who acquire foreign citizenship by birth, but it was rejected. It was specifically rejected. And as an attorney, what other clear evidence do you need of the framers' intent than to have something that was considered and rejected? So that was done. But if we go back to the Alien, and Nationality law, those who framed this law in 1973, are they seriously saying that they were not aware that in 1973, before and after that, there were Liberians acquiring foreign citizenship by birth? So why was that group of Liberian left out, and they only focus on those who got it by way of travel and then naturalization. Why was no focus placed on Liberians who by birth acquired foreign citizenship?
So what do you think was their motive at that time?
Well, you know, I have people in my family who were born, you know, prior to 1973 in the US that acquired foreign citizenship. But I think I was much, much younger at that time. No, I was not even born at that time. But I think, you know, I am told that at that time, a number of Liberians were getting scholarship to go and study abroad. And, you know, perhaps, you know, some people thought that they didn't want those that had the opportunity to travel, I mean, at that time to take foreign citizenship. But it was okay at that time for those who had the means to send their spouse, their girlfriends abroad to give birth and acquire and have their children acquire foreign citizenship.
So my follow-up question is, how it seems like a huge burden to require someone who acquires Liberian citizenship through their parents, if they're, let's say, born in the US, to have to physically denounce that citizenship at the age of 18 or lose it completely. I mean, what do you think about? I just think it's a very high burden to place on an 18-year-old to say, hey, you either say you want to be a citizen now or you lose it. And if you do say you want to be a citizen, you're denouncing, let's say if you're born in the US, you're denouncing your US citizenship.
Okay, that's a good question. I would like to approach it, I mean, you know, from this way. One other way to look at, because that provision that would have required our children born in the US to renounce, because that provision was specifically rejected. Okay. It is my position that group of Liberians are not required to make that renunciation. Okay. Now let's talk about those who have one foreign parent and who acquires a foreign citizenship. Let's say that child has a Nigerian parent, you know, a Nigerian parent, and by virtue of that Nigerian parent, he or she acquires Nigerian citizenship. Perhaps another way to look at that renunciation clause is to call it an election clause. Look, while the child is a minor, he or she can have both. But we are pretty much saying, look, if you reach 18 and you don't want to be bothered with Liberia, you let us know so we don't have to go through the trouble of making special arrangement for you. We don't have to worry about travel documents here and there. Perhaps that's one way. Just tell us now that you are an adult. If you don't want to be part of us.
That would make sense.
Yeah, and if you still want to be part of us, what do you do? And it looks like we are having trouble with Councillor Tish Jallo's video. But ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing the dual citizenship, the Preposition 1, and the ruling of the Supreme Court on the alien and nationality law. Councillor Tish Jallo, who sued the Liberian government to the Supreme Court, is here with us to discuss. So, Councillor, go ahead with your statement. Your video was having some trouble.
Sorry, yeah. If the intent were to deny dual citizenship, they would not have excluded people who acquired their citizenship by virtue. Look, if you go through the constitutional history, I don't want to name names, but you can go through it. You will see that some of those who served as framers at that time had children who had acquired foreign citizenship by birth. So they specifically excluded them. But patient, you also know, okay, let's assume that Article 28 prohibits dual citizenship. Let's assume, you know, for the sake of argument. What about those who legally had dual citizenship prior to the coming into force of the 1986 Constitution? What? I mean, can you legally do anything to them?
Is it retroactive?
The answer is no.
So the law is not retroactive.
Sure. So I think at times, you know, people do this debate without fully sitting and then analyzing it. You are very aware that if the Constitution, the law specifically lists something people cannot go around on a fishing expedition and say, oh, we think that they meant to include. If the law says that, okay, a woman is entitled to this, and those, who wrote the, at the time they said this, based on the Equal Protection Clause, if they say that a woman is entitled to, 1 acre of land, we believe that because of the Equal Protection Clause, if a man sues, we should also, extend that to him. You know very well that because we are a constitutional democracy, when you infer, you can infer to give rights, but you can't infer to take away right. So if the law says, okay, you take away this from John, and you don't say, oh, you know what, because the law didn't say marry Paul, so we would automatically take away. That's not, it violates the principle of notice. And that's not how a constitutional democracy works. So you don't do interpretation for something that is not in the Constitution to say that, oh, we believe that the framers meant that you should prohibit this, people that have this, parents who have it, which is wrong.
Right.
Can I come in?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, well done, Councilor. You referenced Article 28 earlier. And in the very Article 28, I am looking at it without my legal mind. I don't have legal mind, by the way. So from the layman mind, and it said, no citizen of the Republic shall be deprived of citizenship or nationality except as provided by law. So that suggests to me that it can also be done. Somebody can be deprived of citizenship, except that it must be done by law. And that law is the Alien and Nationality Act of 1974, that having to be one of our laws. So are you trying to suggest that this is not telling us what to do?
Well, yes. Look, if you can take that as giving the legislature an authority to pass a law, providing for laws of citizenship, the presumption there is with the parameters that the Constitution sets. Okay, so for example, the Constitution says that before you deprive someone, let's assume that you say you're depriving someone of citizenship, you have to give the person's due process. Okay, so if you pass a law saying that person is not entitled to due process, that law should be declared unconstitutional. Just because you have a power doesn't mean you can just do it. That's why the Constitution sets boundary. So that very law that you're talking about, that was borrowed from the U.S., which the very U.S. Supreme Court struck down in 1963. It was borrowed almost verbatim from the U.S.
Right.
It called for laws of citizenship without due process, and that, at a minimum, is a violation of Article 20 of the Liberian Constitution. Look, let me say something else here. People, when in 1936, the Liberian Supreme Court, interpreting the case Wollo v. Wollo, that's the famous due process case that we have, in Liberia here, the famous due process case. The Liberian Supreme Court, interpreting the due process clause under the 1847 Constitution, said that you could not deprive that lady. Her husband had, at that time, he had connection. He wanted a divorce from her. Rather than go to the court to file where she could plead any defense she had, he went and used his friends that he had in the Liberian legislature, and they granted him a divorce from that lady. And Chief Justice Grimes, writing for the court, struck it down, and he said, look, the due process clause of the 1847 Constitution provided that you must take this lady to court and prove this. And once a court interprets a constitutional provision as requiring certain things, the lawmakers cannot enact a statute that provides less. So look, from its very inception, that decision I'm telling you was rendered in 1937. And the fact that they passed this law in 1973, if you really want to go by constitution precedent, that portion of that law was non-operative since 1973 because it violated a constitutional provision that the Supreme Court had interpreted.
So your Kwanya, your legal Kwanya is only with this section of the 1974 law that more like violate the Constitution?
That's the only thing, yes, that's the only thing so far that I have heard. Those who sought to deprive of citizenship. Look, as they take this thing, there are an appreciable number of Liberians that acquire foreign citizenship just by virtue of their parents, being a citizen, naturalized citizen of that country. They did nothing on their own. They got derivative citizenship. It just grew everyone. Those who serve in foreign military. If you believe that this law is valid law, then you should seek to enforce it uniformly. But don't just target one group. You leave those who have served in foreign military. You allow them to go through confirmation hearing. You don't bother them. But then if a person comes that you believe have a foreign citizenship, then you bother them. So even the very enforcement of that law at that time, had problem with it.
Right.
But that's the only thing I have to remind you now. The Supreme Court has not interpreted Article 28. So far, you're hearing things from politicians and then some lawyer giving their, what they believe Article 28 says. Under our system of government, if a challenge comes, the Supreme Court will have the final say in what Article 28 means.
Thank you, Councillor. And I want us to take time to go through other constitutions, especially the U.S. Constitution that we reference so much on dual citizenship. But we'll leave that for a bit so that we can go into the case that you filed at the Supreme Court, so we can see what happened and what the ruling was and what it says. So we'll come back to dual citizenship and what the American Constitution says or what the American laws say. I want our patient to look at that so that we can do some comparison. Because most of the time when we talk these things, the reference is America. Well, let's go into your case. What happened at the Supreme Court?
Okay, well, the Supreme Court granted our petition, okay? And the court said that it found that the enforcement provision, specifically 22.2, it found that law conflicted with the due process clause, and it was repealed by constitutional command. So it was automatically repealed when the referendum, that was had on this present constitution was in 1984, and then it came into force January 6th. So the court itself did not strike that provision down. The court said that based on Article 95A of the Constitution, that by itself, because Article 95A was the very clause that abrogated the 1847 Constitution. So that clause also took care of that 22.2.
How?
Well, they in effect, in summary, Article 95A says that the 1847 Constitution, which came into force, which was suspended on this day, is hereby, abrogated. Notwithstanding this abrogation, any enactment of law, rule of law, or whatever source it came from, that was in existence prior to the coming into force of this 86th Constitution, insofar as it does not conflict with any provision of this Constitution, shall continue as if enacted under this Constitution. So 22.2 specifically conflicted with a due process clause that say, listen, you must give a person notice. You must take a person before an impartial tribunal. He or she must be given the opportunity to face the accuser. They should be given the opportunity to put up a defense. And then, if there is a hearing judgment by a court of competent jurisdiction, then you may have the deprivation. But 22.2 of the Alien and Nationality Law did not provide for that. In fact, it specifically said this law shall take place without the institution by the government of any proceedings. So it specifically prohibited the government from, going to court.
So does it mean that no one citizenship can be taken from them at all?
Well, I would not say that. What the ruling means is that no one citizenship can be taken away automatically. Okay, you have to at least attempt to give the person due process. But look, just because you provide for due process doesn't mean you can take away a person's citizenship. That person may have a defense, and one of the defense I'm telling you about is that under that very Alien and Nationality Law, a person that acquires derivative citizenship, meaning if I'm in the U.S., I naturalize and my Liberian child is with me, he or she is under 18. On the day I become an American citizen, that child will automatically become an American citizen. Under the Alien and Nationality Law of Liberia, all that child would need to retain his or her Liberian citizenship is to return to Liberia before he or she is 23. How do you know that child did not come back at the age of 23? So just because you provide someone due process does not mean that person may not have a defense. But in this day and age, if politicians want to, if the will is there to carry out a political policy, I guess it could be done. But I don't believe that this present administration would seek to to deprive anyone of citizenship. But could it be done technically? Yes.
So the way it has been done, are you of the view that this is like few people or few other citizens who don't have the power and the right to take away my right are trying to do so? Is that how it seems to you?
Well, look, I think, some of the people who are against this law, are people of goodwill. They are decent people. Some of the people who are in favor of it, they are decent people. And I don't think anyone who voted for this law in 1973 is currently, in government, on the policy level. Incidentally, when we sued the government, it was not this present administration. This present administration just happened to have been the one to receive the President Ellen. Understood the diaspora struggle. I believe that's how President Weah understands it as well. But if you, in spite of all that has happened, it'll be interesting if someone gets up, say, what thing, it is so important to us that those who have foreign citizenship, that those who serve in foreign military, that those who voted abroad, we would take each of them to court now to strip them of their Liberian citizenship. That in of itself would be news.
So as far as your case goes, what are your next steps?
Well, I think when a law has been declared unconstitutional, no department of the government can use it. So the decision is left with the policymaker. They will have to decide how they want to approach this. But if a decision is made to go after someone who they believe that they should take to court, then whatever defense that will be available to that person will be it. But I think it's about time that we move past this issue here. The sky have not fallen. They have since President Ellen Johnson several times, there have been almost this don't ask, don't tell thing going on here. Once in a while it pops up, but generally most people here going about their everyday life are not really concerned about who is who holds foreign citizenship.
Hmm.
Sorry, we just had the power go out.
That's okay. That's
Okay.
So what would you suggest as far as the legislature to move forward from here? How would you suggest they handle it?
Well, there are a number of ways that they could handle it. You are aware that most of them said that it was pursuant to the Alien and Nationality law that people were taught, to have lost their citizenship. One way that they could have handled it was to do it through a legislation. But, they have decided now to, do it through a constitutional amendment. And that, as a result of that, you have Proposition 1 that is scheduled to be voted on October of this year.
Okay, since you brought it up, let's go into Preposition 1. Can you give us a background of what it is?
My, understanding of Proposition 1, if it is approved, it would give official recognition to dual citizenship. It would also say that if it will also limit the several position that a dual citizenship may not hold. He or she may not be served as president, vice president. They cannot be elected to the legislature. They cannot serve on the Supreme Court, cannot serve as minister proper or deputy minister or head of these autonomous agencies, but they may serve in lower level positions. But if that dual citizenship holder wants to run for the presidency or any of the other position that he or she is restricted from doing, they can renounce the foreign citizenship. That's my understanding of it. And then it would also say that, the right to citizenship is inalienable and cannot be taken away.
So does that proposition affect the outcome of your case? Or how does it affect your case?
What, as it stands now, the court decision still recognized me as a Liberian. And it simply, for the fact that it recognized that I did not lose my citizenship automatically. Personally, for me, I'm a lawyer, so if the proposition were to pass, it won't affect me. It won't affect me. What it would do, it'll probably make it harder. It'll probably make it harder for anyone in the future to temper with a person's citizenship. It would definitely make it harder for any politician in the future to temper with a person's citizenship. But it would place restriction on the person. For some, huh?
No, I was just about to ask. So, in your opinion, this whole exercise is not worthy at all, legally speaking?
Which exercise?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. But I just because Proposition 1 is in this political stage now, so I wouldn't want to speak, too much about the politics. But I think for those who believe that there should be some restriction placed, they may say that it's a good proposition. For those who believe that there should be no restriction at all, they may find problem with it.
Counselor, you went to a court and you won. Preposition 1 intention also is to restore citizenship to Liberians and accord them certain rights, with the understanding that the fact that they acquire citizenship or nationality of other country, they forfeited their Liberian citizenship. Your case proved that that is not the case. So why you can be upright to say it's a waste of time because you did not lose your citizenship in the first place? That's the question I'm asking you legally. I'm not talking about politics.
Well, yeah, but look, yes, legally I have not lost my citizenship.
Okay.
But it's possible, Proposition 1, may not pass. It's possible that it may pass. So I wouldn't, I wouldn't want to speak, prematurely. What we should do, put the information out there, but people should, also understand this, that this issue about dual citizenship have been around for a while. People have been struggling with it for a while. All of you over there have had some role to play. Our friends in EULA also have had certain role to play. When there is the appetite for dual citizenship in Liberia has been very, very, very not welcoming. What a right or what a wrong, the politics of the moment have been very hostile towards it. Just thankfully that the past two presidents that we have were, have been understanding. President Selly were understanding, and President Weah is also, understanding. But that political process, Brother Sia, has been put in motion. It has been put in motion. So I'm not necessarily here to campaign for or against it, but I can just speak to what legal stuff that it has in it. If it is passed, I can tell people legally that no future legislature will be able to tamper with your citizenship.
Councilor Tish,
yes.
You say you did not lose your citizenship in the first place. Is it because it was never taken away, or is it because you were not given due process?
Well, yeah, the question answers itself. If I weren't given due process, yes, then it hasn't been taken away. But that's essentially what it means. That they, insofar that they were relying on this automatic language, no. So technically, could someone say they want to take me to court? Yeah, they could do it technically. Would they succeed? That would be another question. And if that's the case, then we'll be able to approach it. But as it stands, no, I have not lost citizenship. As it stands, all similarly situated Liberians have also not lost citizenship.
So now, if to give that due process, would they take every individual citizen or dual citizen to court, or is it going to be a blanket?
Every single person.
You got to go to court.
Yeah, and you believe the appetite will be there for it.
So now let's be real here. If they have not given anyone due process, so it means our citizenship had not been taken away.
Yes.
What's the use for it? Just to piggyback on Brother C.A., so what's the use of the preposition? Is it that they didn't know that this was not taken away because the ruling of the Supreme Court came very late? What do we do now?
Sure. Listen, I think some of those. The people who moved this, they were good intention. They were good intention, because if you read the language, there is a presumption there, an assumption there that people have lost citizenship, and there is a need to restore it. But look, people should also know, because 22.1 stands. Even though I honestly believe that President Weah has no appetite to deprive anyone of his or her citizenship, is brought to some resolution. Whether it's by that amendment or whether it's by some statute that is passed by the legislature. Because if you don't do that, so long you have that thing lingering around, you may have someone in the future who will say, you know what, y'all let's just pass something to go after, individuals. They could do it technically. They may succeed against some, and they may not succeed against others. But technically, nothing will stop a future group of politicians from saying, look, but as a matter of public policy, we don't believe that these group of Liberians should be part of us, so let's go after them. But if you put it in the Constitution, even though it may be imperfect, but it will stop anyone in the future from even thinking about it. So they may restrict your citizenship, but they would not be able to take it away.
If I may come in, so I understand it to mean basically from your case that first the Supreme Court has stated that you can't automatically just take away dual citizenship. So now this proposition is basically saying, okay, if no one's citizenship is automatically taken away, this is the way that we're going to restrict dual citizenship. Am I right to say that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So for me, I think it's left up to the legislature to clarify exactly what their intent is and give notice to the public of exactly what they intend to do, because it seems like it's still not clear that no, you cannot be a dual citizen, or yes, you can be a dual citizen. So I think the first step now is for them to educate the general public of what exactly is the law and what exactly their intentions are moving forward, because it seems very unclear because everyone has their own opinion about what is and isn't the law at this point.
Yeah, and look, and you're right, because look, what this case does. This case helps. This case helps a lot, and no one should minimize the importance of this case yet, because prior to this case, there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of scared words going around. You're no longer citizen. So the court have pretty much said, no, these people are still citizen. You won. Assuming, look, I just think seriously, and maybe other lawyers may have another view. The court said you got to give the person due process. As you are aware, the court is not going to write the law. Exactly. Is there an appetite there now for the legislature to perhaps say that it wants to amend that law? Or is there an appetite now where the executive will say no, go after each person? I don't believe the appetite is there. So if anything, this helps. This helps by at least letting those know that, look, all of these people that you thought lost citizenship, they are still citizens. And if you want to really deprive them of citizenship, it's a cumbersome process that you have to go through.
You have to make it clear, exactly.
Yes.
On the basis of the ruling.
If you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing with Councillor Tish Jallow the dual citizenship Preposition 1 in the Supreme Court ruling on the Aliens and Nationality law. If you want to join the conversation, please call us to 605-313-6004. The code is 791403. So, Councillor, before we even move forward, you keep mentioning Section 22 and Section 21. What are those? Just for the sake of our viewers, please explain them, what they mean and how they relate to your case.
Okay, Section 21, 22.1 of the Alien and Nationality law says that a Liberian by birth or nationality can lose his or her citizenship if they acquire a foreign citizenship through naturalization. Interestingly, they didn't say anything about birth. They said naturalization. Next, they said that a Liberian can lose citizenship if that Liberian served in a foreign army. A good number of our brothers and then some sisters serve in foreign military, especially the US, because as a means of employment. But according to that law, it says that they are no longer Liberians. According to that law, also it says that if you vote in a foreign elections, you're no longer Liberian. Look, during the refugee years, some of us who were in neighboring countries know that in some of these countries, Ivory Coast and other places, Liberians were allowed to take part in some of those elections. Those people don't have foreign citizenship. So what will you say? You're going to take their citizenship away? That's one thing. One of the reasons that this law is dangerous, we know that during our Civil War years, we were told that there were certain numbers of Liberians who went to foreign countries, got military training there, and then came. So if you believe that law is a good law, then you should also say that those Liberians are not Liberians, because no one got permission from the then sitting president to go train, from another leader. So there is so much complication in this thing that when you start cherry picking, but I think we can overwhelmingly, in spite of everything that is embedded in that 22.1, they have overwhelmingly focused their attention on people who acquire foreign citizenship and not those who serve in foreign military or those who voted abroad. You are aware, patient, that there are some non-Americans that vote in municipal election, and also some of them who vote in federal elections there, even though it's a crime, but people still do it. So let's assume, a Liberian just voted there. He or she had no authority to vote. They just went there, and voted mistaken belief. So you would just take that person's citizenship away. When you consider everything that we have been through, Brother Job, our torture history, I think it's about time that this loss of citizenship thing be put to rest. 22.2 says that those who did the 4 things that are listed would lose it from the moment that it occurred. From the moment, that's what it says, without automatically. So if a person takes a citizenship oath around 1 p.m., Saturday 1 p.m., according to that law, that person should have lost citizenship at that very moment, which the vote that we took in 1984, we said no. That provision of that law was unconstitutional.
Thank you. Let's go back to the dual citizenship thing we started with, and I want to before we even go that far, patient, I want you to look at before even Councillor Jallo come in. This whole idea of dual citizenship, we normally reference the USA. What happens if, because our understanding prior to having this series of interviews is that by virtue of you becoming an American citizen, automatically you lose your Liberian citizenship. Mm-hmm. And that America too does not accept dual citizenship. So there has been some information out there. So just walk me through the American law, what it says about dual citizenship or loss of citizenship or the lack of,
Okay. So the preposition that as soon as you become a U.S. citizen, you automatically lose your Liberian citizenship, or that the U.S. does not recognize dual citizenship is incorrect. So Section 101A 22 of the Immigration and Nationalization Act, abbreviated as the INA in the U.S., basically the law itself does not mention dual nationality or require a person to choose one nationality or another. Basically, a U.S. citizen may naturalize in a foreign state without any risk to his or her citizenship. However, persons who acquire a foreign nationality after age 18 by applying for it may relinquish their U.S. nationality if they wish to do so. So I'm just summarizing the law, and I'm taking this from the U.S. Department of State's website. Basically, to summarize it, it means that as long as Liberia is going to recognize dual citizenship, the issue is not the U.S. recognizing dual citizenship. The U.S. will recognize any country's citizenship. So that preconceived notion or that fear that, oh my God, if I keep my Liberian citizenship, I cannot be a U.S. citizen, or if I become a U.S. citizen, I cannot ever have my Liberian citizenship, is false. And again, it goes to educating our people and letting them know exactly being clear of what the law is when it comes to U.S. law versus Liberia's law.
Yep.
You have anything to add, Councillor?
Well, she's right. And, people should stay, in their lane. Something that we don't do. Exactly. We don't practice division of labor in the, Liberian culture. Something that have to do with law, you have everyone, interpreting. That here is a practicing lawyer in the state. I'm a practicing lawyer there as well. The U.S. law does not prohibit it. What sought to do that prohibition was struck down by the U.S. Supreme Court in 1963. There's a fellow that went to Israel and voted in the election. When he came back, he was told that, when he applied for a passport, he said, no, you lost your citizenship. by having voted in, an election in Israel. He challenged it, went all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court struck that provision down, and it also said that you had one of the standards they put there. You had to you couldn't do it without the person that sent. Pretty much, when you have to ask the person, was it his or intent to give up the citizenship? Pretty much making it difficult. Congress has never, the U.S. Congress have never passed any law giving official recognition to dual citizenship. But because of that Supreme Court opinion, Americans enjoy dual citizenship by doesn't care. You can have your 50th passport, they don't care. All they are concerned about is their citizenship.
And if I may add what Patient just read, the last paragraph or section of the law says that dual nationals may also be required by the foreign country to use its passport to enter and leave that country. Use of the foreign passport to travel to and from a country other than the United States is not inconsistent with U.S. law.
Right.
What that tells me is that if you are a national of another country, you travel there with your passport, you're coming back, and then you show your U.S. passport, even if your other country passport with you is not inconsistent with U.S. law. So the whole noise that, once you obtain U.S. citizenship, you forfeit your Liberian citizenship or whatever nationality you may have, and you cannot even attempt to use passport of that country, and that the U.S. will prosecute you, because I heard there in some quarters that if the U.S. get to know that you are carrying a passport of another country when you are a citizen of the United States, that is a crime. So Banser to a guy, Fred, and this lawyer is very clear.
Right.
I see you look so relieved.
Oh yeah, I am. And
That's
maybe
why,
you are too.
that's why you don't go to people who are not lawyers to advise you on legal matters.
That is true.
Yeah.
On that note, Counselor, I do have a question. So, throughout law school, I'm sure you probably experienced this, the fact that we have to interpret laws that are made by people who don't really understand how to interpret and make these laws, and the implications that it's going to have, not just today, not just tomorrow, but we're talking 1847 now, we're still talking 2020. So, where is the gap where we're going to have more lawyers or people in the legal field to actually have an impact on the laws that are being passed? Like, when is that going to happen? Or, I don't know. I just feel like that's a struggle for me to really understand how you're making laws that you yourself don't really know how it's going to apply, and you don't know how it's going to be interpreted by the Supreme Court or any other court. It just seems like it's going to always be a battle. It's going to be a battle between the lawyers and the politicians.
Yeah. And you're right. But I think here, what, they are trying to do now, they have a group, the law reform. So it's in committee of the, of the government, supported by the government. They are supposed to put some of these laws together and advise. They also have, the legislature also has, legal counsels. The Liberian Bar Association from time to time does chip in on, on some of these, advice. But, I think you're right. Things that when this Constitution was written in 1847, even 1986 Constitution, we didn't have cellular phones, we had landlines. So you can't say the framers. A constitution should be a living document, and it should cater to the needs of each generation.
Exactly.
When these people wrote the Constitution, did the framers of the 1986 Constitution ever envision that people would have started war in this country and steal, our innocence when we were minors in this country and drove us out? The kind of heinous crime. Did the framers, also think that way? No. The framers did not think that. So I believe a constitution, when you're interpreting a constitution, a court should also be mindful that its decision have real life, implication. Exactly. Take, for example, when the Supreme Court interpreted the 10 years residency clause. What was the decision in that case? It says, yes, this 10-year residency clause is there, But during the war years, it was suspended, right? They said it was suspended because our constitution was suspended. So what if someone did all of these acts that we're talking about, during the war years? What, applicability? So I think when you sit and look at this thing from a holistic standpoint, we, rather than seeking to pit one group of Liberians against, another, we should really, pull together, unite. The sky has now fallen. There are a group of Liberians that hold foreign citizenship that have served and are currently serving the Liberian government. The sky has now fallen. I think some resolution need to be brought to this. We need to pass beyond this point and see how we can pull our resources together to move this country forward.
Let me bring in a caller who is on the line to join the discussion and have some comments on Facebook that I want to read as well. But we have a caller now. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
Constance Swen Duopu.
Mrs. Duopu, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Your question or comment?
I have a comment. Actually, thank you for this educational program and not just people talking for and not for the government. My comment has to do with the dual citizenship. And I really appreciate those that were really in the front of discussing the dual citizenship and the resources that they put into it. But I think those lawyers that they contacted, had they read the Constitution of the United States and that of Liberia, I think those resources would have been directed to other services for the Liberian people. At this point in time, I do not see the need for us to discuss dual citizenship. There is no way it says that because you are a citizen of another country, you cannot be citizen of Liberia, except I go and denounce my citizenship. Because the lady that was reading, I think patient, I'm on the page. It said if you wish to relinquish your citizenship, it also goes further to say that the laws of each country you have to abide when you are in that country. There is nowhere here I read, and the issue with that passport thing, someone brought it up, and one time I came on the same page to look at it, that yes, you can have your passport. Once you enter in the United States, you get your U.S. passport. When you're going out, you can use your own passport. I can just imagine the number of time and resources that we wasted talking about we want dual citizenship, and now the people draft their law because all they do is copy and paste. The people in Liberia, 1847, they just took American Constitution, they carry and copy and paste it. Now we are here too. The other people sat and they say, you can be minister. But they fail to realize that people that are living out of Liberia are contributing to that economy on a daily basis. They do not ask whether you're citizen or not. You pay houses, you buy land, they don't ask. Only when it comes to position. So I want to thank both of the guests, and I think this is a good topic that you people should continue to educate our people. There is no need for dual citizenship. Dual citizenship is in force already. You don't need to argue about it.
Constance, what they are saying is because of the Alien and Nationality Law, especially Section 22.1, it talks about laws of citizenship, and it reads that you can lose your from and after the effective date of this title, a person who is citizen of Liberia, whether by birth or naturalization, shall lose his Liberian citizenship by A, obtaining naturalization in a foreign state upon his own application, upon the application of a duly authorized agent, or through the nationality of a parent having legal custody of such person, provided that citizenship shall not be lost by any person under this section as a result of the naturalization of a parent, and so on and so forth. So because of this Alien and Nationality Law, that's why when you become an American citizen, that's why you are losing your Liberian citizenship. So the purpose of dual citizenship is to get it back. So that's their point.
Yeah, but Anthony, even at that, if the Liberian law says that immediately you become a U.S. citizen or French citizen, whatever you will lose, I think that should be left with the citizen That should be your because you were born in Liberia. And you must look at the circumstances under which you left Liberia.
Yeah.
If we want to be, if we want to be fair and we want to be good citizens of Liberia,
Right.
we should look at those things.
Right.
You
And
shouldn't
that's
punish
exactly
people because you think they have the opportunity.
right. That's exactly what the whole debate is about. But thank you so much for your contribution.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay. I go back to you, Patient. Like you want to say something?
No.
All right. This question came up, I think on our other show, and it's the one being asked by CC Paul on Facebook. You say our volunteer medical group is coming to Liberia next month, and they go there every year. So the question is, and they are taking people along. So my question is, on behalf of some of our team members, they would like to know if they need visa to travel to Liberia this year, as they have obtained visa over the past years to come to Liberia. So let's put it in the case of Liberians that have American citizenship. They're going to Liberia now. Do they need visa? Or is there going to be some humanitarian visa or all those kind of things? This Councillor Jallo.
Well, listen, if you travel to Liberia on a foreign passport, yes, you need a Liberian issue visa. But if you travel to Liberia on your Liberian passport, you don't need a visa. If you were in doubt before, even if you agree that someone can potentially try to come after you in the future, until that person comes after you, meaning the government, until the government does that, as per this Supreme Court decision, you are still a Liberian. Because you are still a Liberian, you are entitled to a Liberian passport. Okay, because you have not lost your citizenship until at some point, in the future, if somebody decides that they want to pass a law to take you to court, perhaps. But until that happens, you are still a Liberian. Because you are still a Liberian, you are entitled to a Liberian passport. So if you apply for your Liberian passport, you should be able to get it. But if you don't apply for your Liberian passport and you just travel on your American passport, then you would need a visa.
If you apply and they say no, they don't giving it to you, what do? I'm not like Councillor Tish to go to the Supreme Court. What do I do?
Yeah, but I already got a lawyer there for.
Oh, okay. Then we got to pay some money, right?
Yeah, basically.
But let me go to another controversial issue.
No, but listen, in short, I believe, look, the Ministry of Justice, I believe the Ministry of Justice has an obligation to inform the relevant agency of government of the court's decision that where they thought that people automatically have lost citizenship. No, that determination now cannot be made by any person that works in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or our immigration. You would need a court decision at the appropriate time when things are put into place. If you get there to say, okay, some judgment that this person. But until that time, I think the Ministry of Justice has an obligation to inform, especially the Liberian embassy in Washington, D.C., that is still telling Liberians to obtain visa. They should have taken that down by now, because that was one of the things that we challenged in my petition. That was one of the things, and that petition was granted. So without some court pronouncement that a person has lost citizenship, they should take that down. And if someone denies a Liberian citizen passport and he or she cites the Alien and Nationality law, let the person cite the decision that was rendered in our case. Perhaps whoever is making that decision may not be aware of that, of the Supreme Court opinion.
So as soon as if you got your pass, if you have your visa already, you can refund your money.
So, Councillor, you talk about Sam Ross and Lucille Donso earlier, who could not get confirmed as a result of this law. Can I advise them to file a lawsuit against the Liberian government?
Well, I think they could in a limited fashion, okay? Right. They could say, look, that I came here, and assuming that they naturalized, now I don't know, but assuming that they went for a naturalization in Liberia they could say that I came for naturalization on the belief that I had lost my natural born Liberian citizenship. On the belief because of this law. And I think that'll be, you know, an interesting argument to make. But under the present Liberian law, President Weah has the power to grant citizenship to any person of a Negro descent. It will only take 1 or 2 days. Under the present law, the Liberian president has that authority. So if it was.
Wow, this is something I'm just getting to know, Dennis.
That's why you need people. You got to encourage people to watch Focus on Liberia.
Yeah.
So, okay.
All right, he's back.
He's back, but
yeah.
All right, I'll mute him. Yeah,
Okay.
Go ahead. You got muted at some point.
Yeah. Under the present law, President Weah has the authority. He can write a letter today and within a day or two at the most, that person can get sworn in to be a Liberian citizen. Okay, but if
Yeah, no, I was about to say, Dennis, he said something earlier, let us not lose sight of it, that based on the Supreme Court ruling, the Ministry of Justice should be able to inform the Liberian people through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that they can no longer be demanding visas from Liberians who probably have dual nationality. And I think that is, I mean, yeah, all right. And this is very important, Dennis, because maybe Councilor Jaro have to file another lawsuit again, you know, for us to get that back.
Yeah, that is true. So one more thing, one controversial issue I want us to go to is the restrictions in Preposition A or Preposition 1, because all these issues are interrelated. Dual citizenship, you know, alien nationality law. Now we come with provision, and let's look in West Africa, and I want our patient to check on that in West Africa and see what other countries are doing. You know, Nigeria, I believe, have dual citizenship, Sierra Leone, Ghana. So do they have restrictions? What are some of those restrictions, and why we think some of us believe that the Liberian restrictions went too far? Patient, if you can look at that. And while you look at that, let me read some comments. Jimmy Eastman said, I love Focus on Liberia. We love you back, Jimmy. Francis Hina is taking her in a different direction. He said, what is your view about the protest plan for tomorrow?
Not talking about protest.
Edward Amara says, what the Liberian system should be looking at is patriotism instead of dual citizenship. Typical Liberians that are entrusted with the typical Liberians' power have typically failed Liberian. So what's the big deal in dual citizenship? CC Paul said, but once a Liberian, always a Liberian. So the president is a Liberian. Okay, she was responding to somebody else. Question from Jimmy too is, will the councilor petition the Liberian embassy DC to take down the statement? And if they don't, can we threaten a lawsuit?
I am preparing one right
now. Well, you know, the decision came around, the festive season. So, let's give it a little more time and monitor it to see whether that stuff is still, on the website. But first, it shouldn't be there, because I think if you can go there now, it's pretty much said, when you go to the counseling session, it said, attention, if you are a Liberian who has naturalized, you are required to get a visa before you'll be able to travel to Liberia. That should no longer be there. If it is there, there is something that if you believe that a court's decision is not being complied with, there is a way to go back, to the court without necessarily starting a new lawsuit. But we are hopeful that they will take it down.
All right, Ambassador Judge Patton, if you are listening, we are hoping that you take it down. Patient, let me go back to you on the dual citizenship restrictions in our neighboring countries.
So from what I have read, it appears that our neighbors do not prohibit dual citizenship. For example, Ghana does allow dual citizenship. I'm now on their consulate website from New York. Basically, their dual citizenship process is they require a dual nationality application. Basically, if you are a Ghanaian citizen and you acquire another citizenship from a foreign nation, you simply have to file an application. To me, it seems like more of a notice requirement, that they know that you are trying to get dual citizenship, and they will have some kind of identification that kind of separates you from just a regular Ghanaian that has one citizenship. And on their website, it does have restrictions. It says holders of dual citizenship cannot hold certain specified offices in Ghana, including the following: Chief Justice and the Justice of the Supreme Court, Ambassador and High Commissioner, Secretary to the Cabinet, Chief of Defense Staff, Inspector General of Police, Commissioner of Customs, Commissioner of the Value Added Tax Service, Chief Fire Officer, the rank of colonel in the Army, and any other public office that the minister may prescribe by legislative instrument. So while it does list specific offices, it also has this kind of catch-all phrase which allows that provision to be amended by the minister. So for the people, I guess, that would say that other countries, don't have the restrictions or the limitations should just be gone away completely, there's evidence that there are other countries that have limitations, and it seems to be working for them. But as well, their limitations seem to focus here on very, very top officials in the government. Nigeria also has dual citizenship. And here, their website doesn't really go into their limitations. Sierra Leone is also another example of that dual citizenship. So for the most part, we can infer that our neighbors, most of West Africa, does recognize dual citizenship. And I mean, if you look at Ghana, for example, with their whole opening their borders to those in the diaspora and other Ghanaians who have acquired outside citizenship, they have found a way to make it work. They have found a way where the threats of dual citizenship that our people are seeing or what they're afraid of, they find a way to make it work. So for me, I think it's just a matter of, again, making the law very clear and having those limitations that are realistic and that apply to our society specifically.
All right. We let me read another. Where Francis J. Ina says, so if you hold a foreign passport which indicates your place of birth is Liberia, can you enter Liberia now without visa?
Again, you have to have a Liberian passport. That's the main contention I believe the counselor is focusing on. Is not that you will have any, just because you are born in Liberia doesn't mean you can go and have a U.S. passport without a U.S. visa, without a Liberian visa. You have to enter with a Liberian passport. And the issue here is that getting that Liberian passport goes back to what he was saying about the consulate having it on their website, that you, first of all, can even acquire a Liberian passport if you're a citizen of another nation, I believe. If he wants to clarify, he can go ahead.
No, you're right.
And there's a visa requirement on the U.S. Liberian Embassy website. We talk about all non-Liberian passport holders. So I don't know if that's the provision, if that's the notice you were referring to, or which one?
No, yeah, go down. I'll go down the page a little bit.
Okay, let me share that so I can go down.
No, that's not. No, I think this is for a passport, right?
It's for
We're talking about visa.
for a Liberian visa. If you
Visa
have a foreign passport.
Visa requirements. Anyway,
Yeah. This is for passport, I guess, I believe. Oh, visa, all right.
No, it's for to get a Liberian visa for a foreign passport.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can look at that.
It's on the it's on the cover page or call it front page. It's there. There you go. Start right there. No. There you go. Go down to notes. Number 4.
Number 4.
Yeah, something said notes. NOT. You were on the page that said.
If you are a Liberian, no, go down. If you are a Liberian living in the United States and have become a U.S. citizen, you are required to obtain a valid visa to travel to Liberia.
Sure. Therein lies the problem.
Right.
If you are a Liberian living in the United States and have become a U.S. citizen, you are required to obtain a valid visa to travel to Liberia.
In other words, if you don't have a Liberian passport, you have to get a Liberian visa.
All right.
Yeah.
And when you have a Liberian passport, like somebody I know, just get on the plane and go. Make sure you pay for your ticket. Just make sure you get an air ticket.
Exactly.
Yeah. And when they come after you, tell them that Supreme Court gave a ruling, and that's the basis of my argument.
All right. Let's wind it down. If you patient or as soon if you have your final question for the counselor, other than that, then you give us your final comments and then we go to the counselor. But let me see if you have any final question.
My final question will be, so given this ruling, it is not clear that if a Liberian obtains citizenship of another country, that Liberian does not necessarily forfeit his Liberian citizenship. And if that is true, then what will be your legal advice to only me, and I'm talking about other people, to only me, when it comes to traveling to and from Liberia?
Okay, well, because as per the Supreme Court decision, you have not lost your citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you may continue to exercise your right as a Liberian,
Mm-hmm.
and that includes entering Liberia on your Liberian passport.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whatever country that you're traveling back to, they require that you show that you show the airline some permission
Mm-hmm.
to be able to board that plane, and then you have to show them that authorization that you have to board that plane to enter that country. But for your purpose, you enter your birth country, Liberia, as a Liberian because you are a Liberian, not a foreigner.
And so election time, I can go register to vote and vote.
Yeah.
Thank
Because
you.
you haven't lost it unless let's assume the government in the future decides to take some affirmative step to come after us, individually, which I don't believe, the appetite is there by the, to do it. Unless that happens, you are a Liberian and you can exercise, every right that is accorded to a Liberian of your age. So
Thank
you want to
very
come
much.
Councillor,
yes.
anytime you say you have not lost your Liberian citizenship, I want you to qualify that because you're making my heart to jump. You have not lost your Liberian citizenship because you have not been given due process. That's the only reason. It is
not lost automatically.
Also said the law, does that make that law unconstitutional? I want us to get that one clear.
Yeah, Brother Jai, let me explain this. There is a reason why I'm leaving certain things out, because we are human beings. And, some people may decide, for whatever reason that they want to take, certain actions. So if they decide to do it, we will be ready to put up our own defense. So I don't want to give everything away.
Okay.
But let me say this. And Patient would tell you there are different forms of due process, and people need to understand this. There is procedural due process. If the law says that, look, before you take a person's citizenship away, you must do X, Y, and Z. X, Y, and Z. If the executive branch fails to do one or more of those steps, a person can challenge their deprivation, and it will be, look, the law says that they should do this and they did not do it. Then in that case, that would be a violation of the person procedural due process. And then the government may have an opportunity to go redo it. Okay? It is called as apply. But in this case, the violation of due process was embedded in the statute itself. And when the violation is in the statute, that statute cannot be used against anybody, not the petition or anyone else. And how do you cure a violation that is in a statute? You got to redo it.
The whole statute.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah, just that part. 22.2.
And how can you redo it? By going back to the Senate or the legislature?
Yes, assuming if an amendment wanted to take place, someone would introduce, some lawmaker will introduce a bill.
Right.
If it passes both houses, it will go to the president. If the president signs it, then it becomes law.
Joseph Jackson is asking, so all Liberians who carry a U.S. passport and a Liberian passport don't need a visa again? Joseph was saying yes. And then Fulbright Crawford says, so where can we do fingerprint to obtain Liberian passports?
Well, you have to go on the embassy's website to get that kind of information. They have their steps there.
Patient, your last question? Any last question?
The Liberian embassy's website has that information about how to acquire your Liberian passport in the requirements. So you will have to contact them to make sure you have all that stuff.
All right. So guys, you are getting free legal advice on Focus on Liberia. Tune in every Sunday at 6 o'clock, and we'll have more of this.
I do have one final thing I want to get the counselor's viewpoint on. So we hear a lot like dual citizenship is completely contrary to patriotism. Basically, I hear a lot that those who are in favor of dual citizenship are somehow not patriotic, and they don't want, I guess, the best for Liberia, and they're not in the interest of Liberia. I mean, for me, I don't think those two things are differentiated. They're not separate. You can have both together. So what is your viewpoint on patriotism versus dual citizenship?
First, I would say that if you go by our history here, some of the Liberians that have been accused of causing some of the greatest injury to this country as far as bringing war were not dual citizens. Okay.
The patriots
and
consider.
Yes, so yes, yeah. So I mean, I love both of my parents. Is that sharing loyalty with two persons. But I think you look at the history of our country. What people miss when that 1847 Constitution was written, even naturalized Liberians were allowed to run for the presidency. Most people don't know that. Under the 1847 Constitution, a naturalized person could have run for the presidency. Under that 1847 Constitution, women, well, before you get to women, a large percentage of us that are considered Liberians today were not even considered to be worthy enough of acquiring citizenship. Citizenship was restricted to a small group. Citizenship has been opened up. The right to vote has been opened up to women. So this whole thing about patriotism, you want to talk about patriotism, I would just tell people, okay, tell me what you're trying to prevent. When they talk about those who have brought serious injury to this country, then we can start naming some of the people who have done it, so they can show me what other foreign citizenship, that person held. I think it is, it is in the mind, it is in the heart of a person. It's based on a person's upbringing. If you are taught to, to respect people, to care for other people, you may have 50 citizenship. You may serve in a foreign military. You may vote in a foreign election. You will still see other people as human beings and treat them with the respect and dignity they observe. No one should fool themselves. The majority of Liberians still have this country at heart. Out of all of the country in the world, that people have other countries that they can lie about being, citizens for. But people know it, and those who travel, the former president lived in the U.S. The present president lived in the U.S. and other places. And the good thing about it, when they come back, they know that the people there have serious love for this country. And one of the good things that President Weah, I think it's because of him that you even have this major proposition coming up. He has spoken with clarity on this issue. And in fact, in his last State of the Nation address, he even pled, with the legislature, say, look, give this dual citizenship, and the issue about whether someone should give up foreign citizenship. So when the national leadership says that, agenda, it helps. But when people talking about patriotism, there is no law that can legislate patriotism. Patient, you know that. It lies within the heart and the mind.
Exactly.
Hold on, Asune. Let me get my last caller so we can end this thing. We have one of our regular callers, so we want to give him that caller say, even though we're almost out of time. Caller, your name and where you calling from?
Hey, Dennis, this is Eastman calling from Washington, D.C. As usual, I enjoy the discussion, and I really appreciate the counselor coming on the show to provide some clarity on these issues. As he spoke clearly, the president is in favor of dual citizenship. Your other panelists have identified that around the region, there's several countries that are benefiting from dual citizenship. We even have political aspirants, and I guess they were guarded by the knowledge that their citizenship could not be taken from them, so they boldly went and contested the election, knowing fully months earlier they had claimed that they had an American passport. Given all these circumstances, can anybody answer why are Liberians against dual citizenship, knowing full well that a lot of the funds, that the money that we receive are from their brothers and sisters living in the diaspora? So why then are they so against this? Can anybody on that panel or the counselor elaborate on the issue?
Yeah, and it will start with me, because when I go to my hometown in Goodwick and nobody look at me as American, that issue is not, it doesn't even come up. It's only come up with politicians, jobs. But soon I get to Dodokan, they say, even those who are left before they were born, they just want to know who my father is, and they will direct me directly where to go. Counselor, you were saying something?
Sure. Yeah, look, I have similar experience. This thing has been overblown. The vast majority of Liberians here, they don't care. They are not opposed to it. If you explain it, they're not. But there have been a few group of people that, because of political reasons, because of jobs, have sort of sought to poison the well. But the vast majority, my experience, the vast majority of the people don't really care. You said dual citizen, we call it dual citizen, you can call it multiple citizenship. But you ask the people, so your sons and daughter that went, abroad, that guy, the people that to survive, they won't come back. They say the people say they will not come out. They say, but what are you talking about? So the vast majority, my experience, vast majority of the people they do not care, and they would not seek to prevent their brothers and sisters from retaining their citizenship. But there are few, and unfortunately, the few sometimes they have the power, and they have access to radio, and they go there and they play these scare tactics, or they come in to do they want to come in to do that. But I think the vast majority of people here, like Josh said, They really don't care.
My very last caller, and that's Josh Toto. Chairman Toto, you have 30 seconds. We're out of time.
Yeah, thank you. Dennis, and also thanks to my brother, Councilor Tish. Dennis, my concern is, how do we change the narrative when it comes to the embassy or processing visa? Because the embassy they carry the information that if you're Liberian holding an American passport, living in America, you need a visa to enter Liberia. Just a few days ago, we tried to apply for a relative amount to go to Liberia with an American passport, but yet they say the person needs visa. And now the ruling for the Supreme Court has changed the narrative. So I don't know if the government has passed the information on to all the bureau consulate or mission abroad.
Thank you.
And that's it. That's what I wanted to share. I don't know whether the consulate can show light on it.
Yeah,
okay.
The consulate
well,
earlier.
Yeah, we would, but just quickly, we'll follow up on it. But I mean, to give the government the benefit of the doubt, the decision was rendered on December 23rd, right before the holiday. So we just passed New Year. So let's hope that in the coming days, because it's simply the matter of just communication. So let's hope within the matter of the next few days or so, that information will be given to them, and they will stop putting things there to scare or mislead people.
Okay, let's go around the table for your final comments. Let's start with Mr. Steele.
Yeah, again, I will end with this requirement on the Liberian Embassy website that if you are a Liberian carrying a U.S. passport, specifically talking about those of us in the U.S., you have to go through this process as stated. I hope that they're going to remove that, but I will encourage every Liberian right now, because there's a Supreme Court ruling. If you are a Liberian and you carry a U.S. passport, just make sure you have a Liberian passport as well, and you do not need to apply for visa to go to Liberia. The fact that you have a Liberian passport and it is valid, that's all you need, and a plane ticket. Final thing is that—
Wait. Let me stop you. Because you listen to this counselor doesn't make you a lawyer. So stop giving legal advice.
Well, I'm just sharing something that I learned from the counselor. I don't want to be mean. The counselor, we didn't pay him any money. He didn't ask for money. He came here to share knowledge. Let me be general as well. And that is what I'm doing. But here is the sticky issue though. For me, I'm a politics guy. Will our government be willing to put the announcement out there, given the resource constraint they're having? Because that's a lot of money they will be taking from their mouth. And these embassies, we know they are struggling. They need money. And this is one of the thing they made their money from, the visa. So I'm not sure if they're going to do that, but it is our responsibility. I will be picking the phone tomorrow to call the embassy and let the ambassador know. Thank God he knows that I'm a troublemaker. I will give him some dollars. So that will be my final comment.
Okay, Councilor Tish, your final comment before patient.
Thank you. Let me take the lawyer hat out. First, look, all of us that were affected by this civil war, I during the course of the civil war, when I left here, I left here at a tender age. It hurts that I would never be able to say that I graduated high school in my own country of birth. It hurts that I would never be able to say that I graduated law school in my own country of birth, through no fault of my own. After all that we have been through, I would have thought that it would have been a no-brainer for our country to have given official recognition to dual citizenship and welcome everybody back. But this thing here has been dragging on so long, has been so divisive. It has been so divisive. And to me, personally, that's just a major disappointment. We pride ourselves as being a religious country. But yet, when it comes to being inclusive, to forgive, even if you believe someone did wrong, in spite of all that happened. So to me, that has been very, very disappointing. But coming to the legal part, progress is being made. And I hope that, there are challenges, facing this country, that we can move past this. because the decision makes clear that no one have automatically lost his or her citizenship. Person is still a citizen. Thank God, I believe this present administration will not personally go after anyone. Let this thing pass. Let them put this dual citizenship in the Constitution. We can move forward because we are the closest generation. All of us here, we're the closest generation to Liberia. Our children are born, over there. If we don't find ways to bring them here, then that will be lost because we the one. You got Sierra Leone, the historical ties that we have with America. Imagine that. Ghana, go on YouTube, watch the number of African Americans that are going to Ghana and Sierra Leone to naturalize. Liberia, well, they still fighting us who never screen barriers. So when I talk about other people, but it's when you see that we are supposed to lead Africa in certain areas, we're far behind. Perhaps with this, we'll be able to move forward with this and move forward with other things. Thank you so much for allowing me to share the stage with you tonight.
Thank you. Attorney Casey?
First, I want to say thank you to Counselor for even allowing your story to be heard and to be told. And I share your sentiments completely. I mean, I've been here since I was 8. I went to elementary, middle, high school, college, and law school. The first trip I took back home was 2009. And while I felt a part of the society, I also felt not a part of the society. So to be, I guess, directly told that I'm not part of the society because through no fault of my own, I've grown up in another land, another foreign society is really heartbreaking. And so I just encourage our people to welcome this theory of inclusion within ourselves because we welcome foreigners, we welcome their food, we welcome their culture, we welcome their language, we even take up their tradition in their costumes. But to welcome our own people seems to be a struggle. And I really would want us to move forward, as you said, and be more inclusive to our own. So thank you so much for your story and for sharing.
Thank you so much for Councillor Teach, Attorney City, and also Mr. Sie for joining us here at Focus on Liberia. And to our viewers, we say thank you very much for spending your Sunday with us. Don't go away. We are coming again at 6 p.m. Eastern Time with another exciting show on another legal matter, the Liberian Immigration Fairness Act. Those that were on DED, TPS, now they are being signed by President Trump, a bill that gives them a path to green cards, eventually citizenship. So that's good news. So join us. We're going to have another lawyer here who's going to explain that, and someone who has also been involved in the struggle for Liberians acquiring their green cards from DED. So we're going to have that all for you here at Focus on Liberia. We educate, we promote, and elevate all things Liberia. And we need you to support us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we're going to be right back in 1 hour. Don't you dare go away.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home. Liberia people.
Good night, gentlemen. I love Liberia so much.
Good night.